Good morning, my friends. It's Friday. Happy Friday. Hope you've all had a lovely week so far. If you're watching live, please give this a share. Well, it doesn't even have to be live that you're watching, but please give this a share. Spread the word, people. Spread the gospel. Let's get it out there. I love the more people on here, like I could just feel it's just good. It's good. All right. April 28th. Absalom's rebellion, 2 Samuel 15, 1 through 12. After this, Absalom bought a chariot and horses, and he hired 50 bodyguards to run ahead of him. He got up early every morning and went out of the gate of the city. When people brought a case to the king for judgment, Absalom would ask where in Israel they were from, and they would tell him their tribe. Then Absalom would say, "You've really got a strong case here. It's too bad the king doesn't have anyone to hear it. I wish I were the judge. Then everyone could bring their cases to me for judgment, and I would give them justice." When people tried to bow before him, Absalom wouldn't let them. Instead, he took them by the hand and kissed them. Absalom did this with everyone who came to the king for judgment, and so he stole the hearts of all the people of Israel. After 4 years, Absalom said to the king, "Let me go to Hebron to offer a sacrifice to the Lord and fulfill a vow I made to him. For while your servant was at Geshur and Aram, I promised to sacrifice to the Lord in Hebron if he would bring me back to Jerusalem." "All right," the king told him, "go and fulfill your vow." So Absalom went to Hebron. But while he was there, he sent secret messengers to all the tribes of Israel to stir up a rebellion against the king. "As soon as you hear the ram's horn," his message read, "you are to say, 'Absalom has been crowned king in Hebron.'" He took 200 men from Jerusalem with him as guests, but they knew nothing of his intentions. While Absalom was offering the sacrifices, he sent for Ahithophel, one of David's counselors, who lived in Gilo. Soon, many others joined Absalom, and the conspiracy gained momentum. David escapes from Jerusalem, 2 Samuel 15, 13 through 37. A messenger soon arrived in Jerusalem to tell David, "All of Israel has joined Absalom in a conspiracy against you." "Then we must flee at once, or it will be too late," David urged his men. "Hurry! If we get out of the city before Absalom arrives, both we and the city of Jerusalem will be spared from disaster." "We are with you," his advisers replied. "Do what you think is best." So the king and all of his household set out at once. He left no one behind except 10 of his concubines to look after the palace. The king and all of his people set out on foot, pausing at the last house to let all of the king's men move past and lead the way. There were 600 men from Gath who had come with David, along with the king's bodyguard. Then the king turned back to Ittai, a leader of the men of Gath. "Why are you coming with us? Go on back to King Absalom, for you are a guest in Israel, a foreigner in exile. You arrived only recently, and should I force you today to wander with us? I don't even know where we will go. Go on back and take the kinsman with you, and may the Lord show his unfailing love and faithfulness." But Ittai said to the king, "I vow by the Lord and by your own life that I will go wherever my lord the king goes, no matter what happens, whether it means life or death." David replied, "All right, come with us." So Ittai and all of his men and their families went along. Everyone cried loudly as the king and his followers passed by. They crossed the Kidron Valley and then went out towards the wilderness. Zadok and all the Levites came along, carrying the Ark of the Covenant of God. They set down the Ark of God, and Abiathar offered sacrifices until everyone had passed out of the city. Then the king instructed Zadok to take the Ark of God back into the city. "If the Lord sees fit," David said, "he will bring me back to see the Ark and the tabernacle again. But if he is through with me, then let him do what seems best to him." The king also told Zadok the priest, "Look, here is my plan. You and Abiathar should return quietly to the city with your son Ahimaaz and Abiathar's son Jonathan. I will stop at the shallows of the Jordan River and wait there for a report from you." So Zadok and Abiathar took the Ark of God back to the city and stayed there. David walked up the road to the Mount of Olives, weeping as he went. His head was covered and his feet were bare as a sign of mourning, and the people who were with him covered their heads and wept as they climbed the hill. When someone told David that his advisor Ahithophel was now backing Absalom, David prayed, "O Lord, let Ahithophel give Absalom foolish advice." When David reached the summit of the Mount of Olives where people worshiped God, Hushai the Archite was waiting there for him. Hushai had torn his clothing and put dirt on his head as a sign of mourning. But David told him, "If you go with me, you will only be a burden. Return to Jerusalem and tell Absalom, I will now be your advisor, O king, just as I was your father's advisor in the past. Then you can frustrate and counter Ahithophel's advice. Zadok and Abiathar the priests will be there. Tell them about the plans being made in the king's palace, and they will send their sons Ahimaaz and Jonathan to tell me what is going on." So David's friend Hushai returned to Jerusalem, getting there just as Absalom arrived. David and Ziba, 2 Samuel 16, 1-4. When David had gone a little beyond the summit of the Mount of Olives, Ziba, the servant of Mephibosheth, was waiting there for him. He had 2 donkeys loaded with 200 loaves of bread, 100 clusters of raisins, 100 bunches of summer fruit, and a wineskin full of wine. "What are these for?" the king asked Ziba. Ziba replied, The donkeys are for the king's people to ride on, and the bread and the summer fruit are for the young men to eat. The wine is for those who become exhausted in the wilderness." "And where is Mephibosheth, Saul's grandson?" the king asked him. "He stayed in Jerusalem," Ziba replied. "He said, 'Today I will get back the kingdom of my grandfather Saul.'" "In that case," the king told Ziba, "I give you everything Mephibosheth owns." "I bow before you," Ziba replied. "May I always be pleasing to you, my lord the king." Shimei curses David, 2 Samuel 16, 5-14. As King David came to Bahurim, a man came out of the village cursing them. It was Shimei, son of Gera, and from the same clan as Saul's family. He threw stones at the king and the king's officers and all the mighty warriors who surrounded him. "Get out of here, you murderer, you scoundrel," he shouted at David. "The Lord is paying you back for all the bloodshed in Saul's clan. You stole his throne, and now the Lord has given it to your son Absalom. At last you will taste some of your own medicine, for you are a murderer." "Why should this dead dog curse my lord the king?" Abishai, son of Zeruiah, demanded. "Let me go over and cut off his head." "No," the king said. "Who asked your opinion, you sons of Zeruiah? If the Lord has told him to curse me, who are you to stop him?" Then David said to Abishai and to all of his servants, "My own son is trying to kill me. Doesn't this relative of Saul have even more reason to do so? Leave him alone and let him curse, for the Lord has told him to do it, and perhaps the Lord will see that I am being wronged, and will bless me because of these curses today." So David and his men continued down the road, and Shimei kept pace with them on a nearby hillside, cursing and throwing stones and dirt at David. The king and all who were with him grew very weary along the way, so they rested when they reached the Jordan River. Ahithophel advises Absalom, 2 Samuel 16, 15-17:4. Meanwhile, Absalom and all the army of Israel arrived at Jerusalem, accompanied by Ahithophel. When David's friend Hushai the Archite arrived, he went immediately to see Absalom. "Long live the king," he exclaimed. "Long live the king." "Is this the way you treat your friend David?" Absalom asked him. "Why aren't you with him?" "I'm here because I belong to the man who is chosen by the Lord and by all the men of Israel," Hushai replied. "And anyway, why shouldn't I serve you? Just as I was your father's advisor, now I will be your advisor." Then Absalom turned to Ahithophel and asked him, "What should I do next?" Ahithophel told him, "Go and sleep with your father's concubines, for he has left them here to look after the palace. Then all of Israel will know that you have insulted your father beyond hope of reconciliation, and they will throw their support to you." So they set up a tent on the palace roof where everyone could see it, and Absalom went in and had sex with his father's concubines. He's a naughty boy, this Absalom. Absalom followed Ahithophel's advice, just as David had done, for every word Ahithophel spoke seemed as wise as though it had come directly from the mouth of God. Now Ahithophel urged Absalom, "Let me choose 12,000 men to start out after David tonight. I will catch up with him while he is weary and discouraged. He and his troops will panic and everyone will run away. Then I will kill only the king, and I will bring all the people back to you as a bride returns to her husband. After all, it is only one man's life that you seek. Then you will be at peace with all the people." This plan seemed good to Absalom and to all the elders of Israel. Hushai counters Ahithophel's advice, 2 Samuel 17, 5-14. But then Absalom said, "Bring Hushai the Archite. Let's see what he thinks about this." When Hushai arrived, Absalom told him what Ahithophel had said. Then he asked, "What is your opinion? Should we follow Ahithophel's advice? If not, what do you suggest?" "Well," Hushai replied to Absalom, "this time Ahithophel has made a mistake. You know your father and his men. They are mighty warriors. Right now they are enraged as a mother bear who has been robbed of her cubs. And remember that your father is an experienced man of war. He won't be spending the night among the troops. He is probably already hidden in some pit or cave. And when he comes out and attacks and a few of your men fall, there will be panic among your troops, and the word will spread that Absalom's men are being slaughtered. Then even the bravest soldiers, though they have the heart of a lion, will be paralyzed with fear. For all of Israel knows what a mighty warrior your father is and how courageous his men are. I recommend that you mobilize the entire army of Israel, bringing them from as far away as Dan in the north and Beersheba in the south. That way you will have an army as numerous as the sand on the seashore, and I advise that you personally lead the troops. When we find David, we'll fall on him like dew that falls on the ground. Then neither he nor any of his men will be left alive. And if David were to escape into some town, you will have all of Israel there at your command. Then we can take ropes and drag the walls of the town into the nearest valley until every stone is torn down." Then Absalom and all the men of Israel said, "Hushai's advice is better than Ahithophel's, for the Lord had determined to defeat the counsel of Ahithophel, which really was the better plan, so that he could bring disaster on Absalom." All right, let's do Unshakable. I think I already updated the date on there. I don't know. No, I don't think I did. I think it's day 117. I don't think I did update that. All right, here we go. All right, April 28th. Whoops. April 28th. Default to trust. Luke 12:25 says, "Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to your life?" Every single thing in your life is important to God. So when you pray, unload every worry, fear, joy, or thought in your head. He wants to hear all about it. 1 Peter 5:7. And then leave it there. God tells us to cast our cares and anxieties over on Him because He cares for us. We weren't designed to carry all of our cares, but He is. So when something today sparks worried thoughts, you could talk to your friends or just keep it to yourself. But I suggest that you first, before anything, talk to God about it. Worrying with your friends won't add an hour or a minute to your life or theirs. Praying to your trustworthy God will bring you peace. You can trust Him with your concerns, always. Believing the truth, for instance, that God is good and that He does good will help you trust Him, even when your circumstances are not good and you are overwhelmed with worry. Your God is powerful, faithful, and loving, and He treasures you. Deuteronomy 7:6. Whatever your concerns, make praying to your Father your default reaction to worried thoughts, and you'll see your trust in Him grow. When you do, He blesses the hours of your life with peace. Lord, I believe in your goodness, love, and trustworthiness, so I ask you to change my default from worry to trust. You are powerful to achieve it. I love that. I try very hard to live out those words, that I default to trust and not to worry. I still have moments of frustration and worry and fear like anybody else, but I very strongly believe that today has enough worries of its own, that you don't need to worry about tomorrow. And it doesn't mean I don't ever have stress or anxiety about things. I'm normal. Well, I wouldn't say that I'm normal, but I do. You know, I have stress and anxiety and fears, but I try very hard to live that out, to not fret about things that I can't control. I can't control. For example, Sebastian is now scheduled for yet another surgery next Wednesday. Financially, it's going to be very difficult. And I could be stressed and worried and upset and not know what to do. it'll work itself out. It always does. I have faith about it, and it will work itself out. So I don't know. I try really hard not to worry about tomorrow for the exact reason she talks about. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and say, oh, I want to read through the chat. Make sure I didn't miss any prayer requests or anything. Let's see. 76 days. It's raining like a boo-boo kitty here. What on earth is that? A boo-boo kitty. Vicky Dodson. I don't even know what that means. I love your sayings. Good morning from Lancaster General Hospital. Still hanging out in bed waiting to see if I'll be able to finally have the pain lower. Oh, Grace, I'm so sorry. We are all praying for you. I'm so sorry you're dealing with that. Oh my goodness. I hope they find an answer for you soon. All right, my friends, let's go ahead and end in a word of prayer. Father in heaven, I thank you so much for our time together this morning. Thank you for the gathering of these women and for your faithfulness that where two or more are gathered, there are you as well. Thank you for the ability to virtually gather like this with women from all over. Father, I pray that you will be with Grace today and be with the doctors, help them to find a resolution quickly to her pain so that she can be feeling better and be up again. I pray for a quick resolution and a successful one that helps her out quickly and gets her on the road to recovery. Father, I pray for anyone else who may be struggling this morning with pain or sickness. I just pray that you will bring your healing to them, bring your comfort and your peace that only you can bring. Father, please go before us today and keep our eyes and hearts focused on you in everything that we say and do. In your precious name, amen. Okay, my friends, thank you for joining me this morning. I love you all so much. I'll see you for breakfast in a little bit. I'm going to make cheese out of zucchini. That's what I'm going to make this morning is cheese out of vegetables. So you're going to have to join me to see what I do. All right. I love you all. Have a great day.